Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is Go Again, a fabulous video cast covering the trading card game Flesh and Blood. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando.
Hey Fab folks, so a couple hours ago, as of the time of shooting this, it's here, right? Tales of Aria. We've seen some of the first stuff, which means that from an effective standpoint, that's what's going to be on the community's minds. It's effectively here, right? So a couple hours ago, we got 3 spoilers, Lexi, Livewire, her weapon, and then kind of a supporting card from DM Armada, Red Zone Rogue, and Kitchen Table TCG. They did a little play thing basically to kick off spoiler season. And now for those of you who've watched the channel in the past, you guys know I'm not huge on speculation, right? That's why we haven't had a whole bunch of Tales of Aria videos already. I like to, have stuff in front of us and talk about stuff in real time. Now, granted, we only have 3 cards, but given the fact that I've been a Ranger player since the get-go, in terms of Ranger being released, right? I was worried before that, but I've put a lot of my heart and soul into getting Azalea to work. I think I've earned the right to get in a little early on this one before we know all this stuff. So tonight I want to talk Lexi, Livewire, and her supporting cards. Hey folks, so thank you very much for tuning in tonight for the kickoff to spoiler season. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out of Super. So spoiler season technically starts September 1st. I imagine this week between that we'll probably see the other 2 heroes, maybe more if there are more. But I imagine this first week we'll get the heroes probably, and then we'll start to get supporting stuff. It may or may not work that way. We'll see. They always do spoiler season different. But remember, we're on a pretty truncated spoiler season because the release happens at Las Vegas, USA, when the calling happens. So we're on a pretty truncated timeline. So I think stuff's going to come at us, I think, pretty rapid fire. No? Okay. All right. Fair enough. So before we get into this, couple things. One, like I mentioned, I'm not huge on speculation. I like to work with what we know and put things in context of what we know. And again, especially on stuff like tonight when there's a lot of new mechanics, I mean, we could spend 2 hours being like, oh, it might be this, or it might be this, and it might be this. And like, great. That's just not how I like to do it. Like, that doesn't mean you can't do it. And I'd love to see your comments on what you think stuff's going to be. And if you get it right, special non-prize bonus to you, right? But I like to keep it more real and keep it in terms of what we know and what we've learned. That said, there's a couple conjectures I'm going to make tonight, I think, that are relatively logical, right? And I think you guys will agree. So, and then also before we get into this, a lot of people have come to me in the last, right? Again, like I mentioned, you guys know I'm a huge Ranger guy, right? I've been trying to make Azalea work. I think I'm pretty good with Azalea, but she's still Azalea, right? So anyway, a lot of people have come to me and they're like, hey, are you really excited for the new Ranger? And I was like, to be honest, I don't know. Because, if you look at Boltyn, right? When Boltyn came out, you compare him to Dorinthea, and like, yeah, they're both warriors, but they're effectively different classes, right? And it's kind of, I kind of felt the same way, and I did speculate the same way on Lexi, as like, I didn't really expect Lexi to show up and be the same as Azalea. Sure, they'll share, the core fundamental things of throwing arrows, but I mean, I think, and yes, we're correct, right? But, I think, like I said, fundamentally, I didn't expect them to be very similar. So just because I was a Ranger player doesn't mean I was naturally going to love Lexi. But I think after seeing her, I think she's very exciting. But I'm going to hold my, right? I try to pick one hero to zone in on every set, as most of us do. And I'm going to hold my judgment until I see the others before I decide to go all in on Lexi. So just keep that in mind. That said, she looks pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and get right into Lexi. So Lexi Livewire. So she's a 440. So standard there. I'm assuming she'll be a 420, I would assume. So she has Essence of Ice and Lightning. you may have ice and lightning cards in your deck. She's an elemental ranger hero, right? So it stands to reason there, right? It's one of those conjectures. It stands to reason that only elemental heroes will be able to play the ice and lightning and maybe fire or whatever it may. It's probably going to be fire, but we'll see, right? And then she has a once per turn action. Turn a face down card in your arsenal face up. If it's a lightning card, your next attack this turn gates go again. Oh man, lightning arrows are going to be hot. If it's an ice card, create a frostbite token under target hero's control. Go again. So lots of. I mean, there's a lot of, again, speculation, but just putting in terms of context. I mean, we're pretty sure she's going to get lightning something. I mean, at the very least, there's going to be lightning. Neutral-ish elemental cards, right? I mean, at the very least. But it's highly likely she'll get a lightning arrow. Maybe it's a specialization, something. It's highly likely she can get a lightning arrow, which means it naturally, so you'll put it in. You could see, and now that's the thing here to put into context, right? Both Death Dealer and Redliner put cards in Arsenal face up. So that is important. She likely won't want to use those bows, right? So that's important. I mean, she could, but once per turn action, turn it face up. Like, you probably want things to be face down in your arsenal, which means that the other two bows probably you're not going to use with her, which is something different. I mean, again, it fits in to kind of support that she's really not going to be fundamentally the same as what we're used to working with, right? I mean, again, I feel pretty safe saying that. The next one's if it's an ice card, create a frostbite token. So tokens that go into things that you put in play under your opponent's control always scare me, and not from the I don't want to give my opponent thing. It can often be a very tough thing just based on my past gaming experience, right? Again, LSS I think has done a fantastic job with design and balance and everything to date. But in my experience with other games, that's historically been something that's been very hard for people to manage, like from a game design standpoint. And it's either completely worthless or it's completely busted. I've never seen it be okay. So again, we haven't seen the frostbite token yet. Maybe by the time I get this video out, it'll already be spoiled, and I'm just talking to a camera at this point. But I don't know. But again, if it's one of those things even if it's like a Runeblade token or something where it does like an elemental damage or something like that. Hopefully not a new type of damage, but let's say it does an arcane damage or something like that, I don't know. Or it increases the cost of their card and then pops or something like that. Again, putting stuff in control under your opponent is an easy space to go to design more cards that takes advantage of that. And it's either really, really bad and worthless, or I've never seen it be well done. And if anybody can do it, LSS can. But that is just something that concerns me from a, let's see how this plays out, not necessarily in this set, but in the future, right? I mean, I just don't know, right? Because, put it in perspective of Prism, right? It's completely, Prism likes to have auras in play on her side, right? So let's say 3 sets down the line, they design a card that says, deal 1 arcane damage to your opponent for each aura they have in play, or something like that, right? And now I'm not saying that frostbites are going to be auras. That's not what I'm saying. It could be, but probably not. Could be. But anyway, you get my perspective, right? They designed something to trigger for something else that also does this. Anyway, not going to spend too much more time on that. So, anyway, she looks really cool. She looks really, really cool. It looks like there's a couple. Naturally, she's going to have the 2 elements. So you at least your head goes that there's probably 2 or more lines of play with her. But the fact that she's not using your normal bows is important. So at that point, let's go ahead and go to Shiver, which is her natural bow. I do want to point out one thing on this card. At the very, very bottom, it's kind of hard to see because of the blurry of the screenshot, but the set name is ELE, right? So it's elemental. It's not like TOA or, I don't know, whatever it would have been, but it's ELE. Not that that's hugely important, but it's cool to note. So Shiver is once per turn instant. So once per turn instant, meaning you can use it on your opponent's turn. For 1, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into an empty... so that's face up as well. Face up into an empty arsenal zone you control. And if you do choose one, it gains +1 or it gains dominate. Yeah, okay. So all of the bows put face up into arsenal. Now, it is an elemental ranger weapon, so no Dorinthea can't use it. Or, Azalea can't use it. Interesting. And you can load on your opponent's turn. Now, somebody in the DC Discord was like, "Oh man, this is gonna work with traps." And of course, I was like, "Oh yeah, that'll be awesome." Then I went back and looked, and I was like, "Yeah, it is arrows, just like the other bows." So no, your traps will not work. Traps still blow goes. But yeah, so one thing I did want to point out on here, I'll put up the highlight now, right? It says into an empty arsenal zone you control, right? And this should remind people of like the Command and Conquer thing. It's like destroy all arsenals, right? And we've talked at length on here about the mechanics of how cards read of having multiple arsenal slots versus having multiple zones. So this one, this is really interesting, right? Into an empty arsenal zone, right? So, I mean, this is my conjecture leap. I would be shocked if we'd so let's go back. So supporting for what I'm about to say, right? So turn a face down card in your arsenal face up. That is what the cross wrap does to opt, right? So Lexi's hero ability in of itself further, we've already talked a lot about how cross wrap is arguably not good anymore, or not good anymore, but we've talked about how even Azalea doesn't necessarily need to use cross wrap anymore after Monarch. And now that Lexi's looking to turn the card face up, cross wrap's completely useless. Right? It's completely useless. So I think it's a very, very, very reasonable assumption to make that there will be a legendary ranger equipment in this set. And I feel comfortable saying that I would be blown away because they already have the head, they already have the hands, they already have a feat from Crucible of War. I would be blown away if it's not a chest piece that is somehow a quiver of some sort, right? And we'll see, that I had made the quiver of awesomeness thing during Ranger Week as kind of a meme card. I mean, not really a meme card, but kind of a demonstration card on how it would work. I would be shocked if we don't get a quiver of some sort. I would be blown away. Now, whether that's Ranger specific or whether it's elemental hero specific, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see, and we will see very, very, very shortly, I would imagine. That said, I'd be very surprised if we don't get a legendary piece of equipment that somehow ties in with her that interfaces with Shiver somehow, right? I think that's a pretty safe assumption, but we will have to see. All right, so the last card here is Weave Lightning, and let's just go through it. The next lightning or elemental, right? That's weird. Right, the next lightning or elemental, because I think that a lot of us would have thought that lightning was elemental, but maybe it's because maybe we have generic, right? So now we're kind of getting in the weeds of like, are we going to have lightning action, elemental action, ice action? Maybe, right? So that's interesting, right? Anyway, so lightning or elemental attack action card you play this turn gains +3. If it's fused, it gains go again, and then go again. So this is another leap I'm going to make without having the data, but I think it's reasonable, under the context here, I think it's reasonable to assume that fusing somehow blends your elements together, right? So it could be like, let's say it's a lightning card that said, it's like a nimblism for lightning. It's like your next elemental card gains +3 and becomes fused. Right, or becomes fused and is considered to be lightning, right? So it'd be some way to like make your ice arrow also lightning. I mean, I think that's a reason. I mean, what else could it mean, right? Like there's got to be something there where like you're somehow blending your elements together, right? I mean, ultimately we will very, very clearly see within a very, very short time period. But I think that's pretty reasonable to like somehow, because again, right, let's go back to Lexi. Lexi has the 2-element affinity or whatever you want to call it. And I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that like she can take a super shot that's both, right? And we'll see what her specializations are. Like maybe her specialization is a super shot that's both, or something to that effect, right? Because if you can, she's shocking and she's cold. And if you can shock and cold at the same, like you make them cold and shock them, then things were worse, right? I mean, I think it's a logical assumption. I don't know. I just think that's a logical assumption, right? So, Yeah, I think the last thing I wanted to. So I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff here. Again, it's very very early, so we don't want to say like I'm not here to say like oh my god she's amazing because we don't know. Like we honestly don't know. What we can say safely is that she's really really intriguing, and we've seen enough in these 3 cards to let the YouTube community at large speculate for a month, and they're not going to have that long, right? So I think this was a great intro to spoiler season. I mean, well done, and thank you again to those who did it. It was awesome. So last thing, and then we'll get out of here is, I saw R.I.P. I mean, yeah, basically it is. It's R.I.P. Azalea, right? And I'll actually let's save that for a whole different cast on why I don't think she's entirely dead necessarily. But it'll depend on what support. I mean, it's going to depend on what supporting cards come out for her, right? I mean, again, I reference back to the Boltyn thing, and that's why we talked about that earlier. It's like, are you excited for the Ranger stuff? And it's like, well, I'm excited for Ranger stuff because there might be more Ranger stuff. But if you really put it in perspective, right, when Boltyn came out as a warrior, like both Kassai and Dorinthea basically got 1 card from the set. Dorinthea got Plow Through, Kassai got Second Swing, right? And Second Swing was kind of a Boltyn card anyway. But anyway, so there's a couple cards that filter backwards, and I think it's going to be the same case here. Like the things that will help Azalea, if Azalea, at least the way I play her, if Azalea can pick up 1 or 2 like generic 0/4 arrows, that's going to help her a lot, like a lot. But if everything that comes out is elemental and elemental, lightning, I mean whatever it may be, we'll have to see how the exact rules play out. But if everything is not helpful to her, then no, she's not going to get help. So then yeah, because I don't know, like it's hard, like looking at Lexi, it's hard to imagine why you would not do, at least right now, right? The first take is it's hard to imagine why you would play Azalea over Lexi, considering Lexi can throw something in and give it go again. Right? So you're losing Red in the Ledger is big, right? It's an Azalea specialization. Losing that's huge. That's a huge card. But that's the only, knocking the death whistle is the other. Like, you don't really care because you're not tutoring you're not tutoring, but you're not doing the top thing. So you don't really care about knock. So you lose Red in the Ledger, but you gain everything else that Azalea can't. So, like, I find it very hard to believe that most Ranger players won't move to Lexi. But we'll have to, again, if Azalea gets 2 or 3 zeros, like and the reason I say the 0/4s are important is because, and by that I mean the red pitch 0/4s. If that's that's important because if she gets those, then Rapid Fire and Poison the Tips are both relevant with Azalea. So then you have new play strategies, and when new play strategies happen, things open up. But more than likely, the cards I just referred to, Poison and Rapid Fire, especially, Rapid Fire gives go again anyway. But so maybe it's Poison the Tips probably looks better, right? So Poison the Tips with Lexi into some super awesome lightning arrow into something else, right? Because the lightning arrow would get go again. Looks probably real strong. So again, we'll have to see. There's a lot to come. Like I said, a lot to come in a short period. But I was super excited to see tonight's stuff. Wanted to sit down. You can tell it's late night. Like, it's only been a couple hours, so it's definitely hot takes. So we'll see where we go from here. But anyway, I'll put a pin in that, and we can talk about Azalea later once we get a bigger picture of things. But so let me know what you guys are thinking as well. Are you excited about Lexi? I'd imagine many of you are. Is there other stuff I'm missing here? Maybe some little stuff on the cards that I didn't quite pick up first time through that could imply some other things. So let me know in the comments. I just want to remind everybody of the giveaway that we have going all through August, right? All you have to do is be a public subscriber and comment on one of the videos from a couple days and forward. So like this video, for example, let us know your thoughts and be entered in the giveaway for those super Herald of Awesomes, right? The Herald of Protection. So anyway, folks, thank you for tuning in, and let me know what you're thinking. And if nothing else, go Commando.